I'm going to show you how to remove duplicate values in a list in Excel real easy. Now here I have a list, an inventory list, which has a whole bunch of items in it, and many of those items are duplicated. Now I want to know what are the individual items that make up this list. Say for example that I want that this is last month's inventory, for example, and I want to create a form that I'm going to give to someone, and I'm going to tell them go check to see that these items in these amounts are in the inventory. Now I'm not going to give them a list where PVC fittings appear on 15 different rows because that's going to be impossible to check. I'm going to give them a list which says check to see that there's 15 Phillips head screwdrivers, 25 long tail screwdrivers. But for this, I'm going to need to obtain a list of individual parts and codes that make up this list. So how do I do that? Well, I can use an option in Excel that's called remove duplicates. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these two columns right here. The part code and the part description, which is what I need to give whoever checks inventory. And I'm going to paste them right there. Now here I have a big list of parts, and I'm going to need to remove the duplicate values so that I get only the individual values that make up this list. How do I do that? Well, I start by selecting the entire list like that. Then I go up here to the Data tab, and in the Data tab, I'm going to look here where it says Data Tools. And in Data Tools, I'm going to click this option which says Remove Duplicates. That's a routine that Excel has to remove duplicate values. And I get this little window here that lets me remove duplicate values. This is going to work very similar to the sort and the filter options that we saw in previous chapters. You have to select several columns which make up your duplicate values, and if all of those columns match, a value is considered duplicate. Now see here, it says my data has headers. That works just like on sort. If I had titles on this column, this would give me the name of those columns. Now in this case it's not so relevant because I only have 2 columns, but if I had 5, 10, 15 columns, I might want to add headers so that instead of column I and J and K and so on, I get titles that say part name, part number, amount in inventory, last check, so I can select these parameters a whole lot easier. Now how do these checkboxes work? Well, what Excel is going to do is it's going to compare column I in between these values, and at any time that this column is identical, that's going to be flagged as a duplicate for elimination. But since I've also checked column J, the next thing Excel is going to see is if the values that match up on column I also match up on column J. And if these two are identical, then it gets flagged as a duplicate and deleted from the list. Now I can uncheck columns here. For example, if I uncheck column J, that's not going to get checked. So all I need is for the part numbers to be identical and the duplicates are going to be eliminated. But if I check these, both the part numbers and the descriptions need to be identical. That's useful if you have part numbers with different descriptions. For example, if you have a part number for PVC fittings, but the description says if it's ½ inch, 3/4 inch, or whatever, well, you're going to have to check these 2 columns in order to get the duplicate list processed right. But if you have it like this, where one part code equals one part type, and there's no possibility of identical codes with different parts, then you can check column I, and that'll be just enough. So I'm going to check column I, and when I press OK, Excel tells me I removed 268 duplicate values and 12 unique values remain, which is what I have right here. See, I have these part numbers, and this is the list of the items that make up this huge list. What happens is these codes and items repeat over and over and over again with different amounts of stock, and that's how the list gets so large. Now, if I wanted to give this to someone to check inventory, I could use a SUMIF function here. SUMIF, and I tell it simply evaluate column B, and if it's equal to this part number, add the values in column D. And there we go. This is the list of parts that I would give someone, and I would tell them go into the warehouse and count that we have 156 screwdrivers of this type, 216 of this type, and so on. The last thing I might want to do is sort this list, just to make it a little bit easier to read. I'm probably going to sort it, well, depending on how my warehouse is arranged. If the warehouse is arranged by part numbers, well, I'd probably sort it by part numbers, so it's much easier to go along section C, section D, section G, and checking inventory in each section. So that's how you remove duplicate values in a list in Excel. You just go here to Data, click Remove Duplicates after selecting the range that you want to process, and you simply give Excel the data on which columns you want to consider for duplicate removal. You click OK, and you get your unique values list out of Excel. Thanks for watching this video tutorial. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and to visit our website, cubicleoverlords.com, for more instructional videos like this one.